What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the No Name Podcast. We are back today again with another episode, first episode of the new year. So everyone tuning in, Happy New Year. Appreciate y'all. Hope y'all had a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, all that good stuff. But now it's time to get back to it. A lot of stuff has happened this weekend. We're going to be discussing playoff contenders, crucial games this weekend, and how certain teams match up this week, because obviously going down to the wire, week 18, it's everything matters here. You know, for most teams who didn't clinch their playoff spot, they are playing for something. This has been one of the most, in my opinion, a very competitive year when it comes to, you know, all these like 4 or 5 teams all playing for the last 2 playoff spots, and it looks like that on both sides. And it's just great to see, not only for the NFL in general, but just to see that a lot of these teams are putting together, you know, winning seasons or just one game away from being included in that conversation. And it's great to see, because the more competitive games you have, the better, you know, the better marketing you have, more players you can market around, the more, you know, money you can make as a team, as an owner, and the more tickets you can sell at the end of the day. And it just creates a more interesting storyline when there are 4 teams, 3-4 teams competing all for the same spot. And, you know, and for most time, you know, for the most part, we do see this time. We've been in these times where there's been bottom tier teams, and now that's not the case. And so I think it's great for not only the NFL, but communities and viewers in general. But without further ado, let's get straight into it. The Philadelphia Eagles losing to the Arizona Cardinals not only goes to prove that they are a team with serious issues and serious worries going forward, but I mean, this just is just not something at this time you want to see. Earlier in the year, we were giving them credit for getting their ugly wins and putting things together and just being able to just get a W at the end of the day, which is all that matters. And they were going through one of the toughest stretches of football, and they managed to come out of that whole situation with 1 loss, which is, again, we understood they had flaws. We understood they had problems. You know, the offense is not flowing like it's supposed to. The defense, the secondary is not there. If that front 7 is not getting you pressure, then and stuff in the run, then you're pretty liable in the secondary, all right? And we've seen them get exposed all year long. Teams like the likes of Washington with Sam Howell putting up nearly 350 yards both times playing them. You have Dak Prescott, who's torched them twice. Yes, it only led to 1 win, but he torched them twice. And this has always been a secondary. When you see that opposing QB matched up against Philadelphia, you're slamming his over. You're taking his fantasy score. You're putting him in the starting roster because you know what this team has allowed this year, and it's been the same issues all year long. But we gave them the you know, a little pass. We said they were winning games, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And now they're coming off 3 straight losses, which is nothing that anyone's seen coming. Obviously, they now dropped from the 2 seed to the 5 seed with that loss. They still have a chance to regain that 2 seed. You're going to need a little luck with Dallas losing to Washington this weekend. Dallas is playing on the road, so, you know, you have a better chance of that. Obviously, we know Dallas struggles being a road team. But yeah, I mean, things get interesting. I mean, listen, you allowed Kyler Murray to go for 232 yards, 3 touchdowns. James Conner, 128 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns of his own. I mean, this was a team that they needed to live, stopping the run and getting after the quarterback, and you didn't see that this weekend. Yes, Kyler Murray is a brilliant talent at escaping the pocket and just escaping pressure and just making plays out of nothing. But it just wasn't there today. This defense does not look. This pass rush has not given them any help. I mean, it's been pretty non-existent for the past couple of weeks. This whole team has been pretty non-existent, and I think it has a lot to do with just camaraderie and issues within the locker room. I mean, even if you looked at A.J. Brown, when they settled for a field goal and they couldn't convert on 3rd and 18, A.J. Brown just got down and shook his head, and the energy is just not there. And A.J. Brown, I've been a big believer of, if you are a superstar, you've got to be uplifting people and not bringing them down, and not, you know, having your issues shown, you know, like, you know, expressing your issues to the world, to the crowd. You know, you're on TV, you know, the camera's on you, and when you're doing these things purposely and just, you know, just letting it all out there and showing, you know, the issues on your face. Like Jalen Hurts, he's trying to keep composure. He's trying to stay calm. He's trying to stay as positive as possible because that's his job as a quarterback. That's why you pay him the big dollars. Obviously, we understand he's been struggling, but I mean, as a leader of the team, as a player, they just paid you all that money to be one of the best receivers in the league, which you have been. But that also comes with a bit of a price of being a leader and just, you know, taking the high road, because obviously these situations have been known. It's been happy. It's been okay okay with the staff, with the players, with the roster, with the owners, because they've been winning, and now they're losing and everything just seems to be falling apart. Every little thing that goes wrong is just, it just looks like there's somebody else, complaining or just things like that. And when you're getting paid that type of money, I do believe there comes a bit of a leadership role that is kind of given to you. You now become a veteran guy, right? You've been in the league for a while. You've been on 2 teams. You've been to the Super Bowl once. Excuse me. Right? So now you come in here with this extra role, and now you've got leadership roles, opportunities coming to you. Like, you take that and you ride with it, and you lead these younger guys, and you show them, that we're going to get this thing back on track. And that's not what I've been seeing from him. But obviously, Jalen Hurts, 18 for 23, 167 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 INT. It did not look good. It did not look pretty. Yes, he had 3 touchdowns, but he's been known to get a couple of touchdowns with the tush push and everything. 2 to Julio Jones, which I thought was great. But DeAndre Swift, 13 carries for 61 yards. And this is my biggest point of emphasis when it comes specifically to the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, throughout this whole game, Jalen Hurts and Philadelphia allowed 0 sacks. They allowed 0 sacks. Why? Because they have one of the best offensive lines in football. All right. And it really just blows my mind when I see a team like this as dominant up front. We've seen the tush push. We've seen how unstoppable and how almost guaranteed it is from a yard and a half out. All right. And we've seen that for them, it's always 1st and 9 instead of 1st and 10, because they have that luxury of being able to do the tush push, right? They are the best team at that half yard, 1 yard situation. Okay. And when you have a guy like DeAndre Swift, 13 carries, 61 yards, all right, behind one of the best offensive lines in football, right? And you're just not using the run, like you'd be a run-first team. I just see this is the issue with people these days. You start seeing people get involved in MVP conversation. You start seeing them have great years, and then you pay these guys all this money, and now you want to show why your guy is worth this type of money, all right? And obviously, we understand Jalen Hurts is a wonderful talent. He is a great QB. He's proven it on the biggest stage against the greatest quarterback of this in the NFL right now. I'm not gonna say of our generation, of our decade, because of our decade is obviously Tom Brady. All right, we all watched him do what he did, but I mean, when you go head-to-head with Patrick Mahomes, you gain that bit of respect, especially in the Super Bowl when you needed it most. You gain that respect. All right, so we know what Jalen Hurts is capable of. He had his best game and his biggest game of the season last year in the Super Bowl when you need it most. All right. So I think he deserves the money that he was paid and he was offered to extension. But that doesn't mean you have to be like Patrick Mahomes. Everyone nowadays, you get paid this type of money and you want your guy to look like the next Patrick Mahomes. The Patrick Mahomes, you want to see him make these type of plays. And it's just not something that's sustainable for people who just simply aren't Patrick Mahomes. You are not the same as Patrick Mahomes. You're not going to have as much numbers. You're not going to have as much crazy plays. You're not going to be throwing the ball as much and doing as much crazy off angles, sidearm throws like he is. And that's okay. But just stick to what you're known for. Okay? And just run the ball. Like, I just don't understand why teams these days have an issue with just dominating the ball down the field, running the ball 20 to 25 times a game with your running back. Personally, with DeAndre Swift, 13 carries, 61 yards, that's great numbers. It's almost 5 yards a carry, all right? And that's, 4.5 yards a carry, somewhere around there. And when you're able to do that and dominate the line of scrimmage, it just makes everything else easier. And when you are forced to throw the ball so much, and do all these and just trying to throw the ball down the field so much, it's just not a recipe for success. You have to dominate the line of scrimmage. Go out there and run the ball. You also have Jalen Hurts. I understand you want to take care of your quarterback, but you can have him tell him go slide. You could run some read options. You could do these things to get your quarterback involved in the game, get your running back involved, and dominate the line of scrimmage. Everybody knows if you dominate the run game, you have a better chance for success. You're going to break down that secondary. You're going to ease them up, lighten them up. And then when you come out here and you run the ball 7 times down their throat, play action, wide open, you got a chunk play. That's what San Francisco lives off of. That's what teams, the Raiders, that's what we're trying to be with Josh Jacobs. That's what we're trying to build. Derrick Henry with Tennessee. You've seen Ryan Tannehill win a playoff game only throwing 47 yards, 50 257 yards. All right, it's a recipe for success, but you have to be able to do it and just stick to it. And I felt like they didn't want to get to it early. They just came out on too many drives, throwing the ball on first down, throwing the ball on second down, and then it's 3rd and 10, and you can't even allow yourself to throw the ball. You can't even, run the ball. You're taking DeAndre Swift completely out of the game, and DeAndre Swift has been having a phenomenal year. He's been having one of the best year of his career. He's behind one of the best offensive lines in football, and it's not like he's a small undersized running back. All right, DeAndre Swift is a 210-pound back, 205-pound back. He's probably 5'9", yes, but he's a hard-nosed runner. He's not scared of contact. He's gonna lay his shoulder down and punish the tackler. All right, and that's a style of football Philadelphia is known for. That's the style of football Philadelphia needs. That's what the fan base wants to see. They want to see you bully kids at the front on the line of scrimmage, and I just think they're getting away from that. I hope, for their sake, they reestablish that emphasis of running the ball and just being the more physical team like San Francisco did to them and has done all year long. All right. You've seen Baltimore Ravens do that exact same thing to San Francisco. It is a physical league, and you have to dominate the line of scrimmage in all aspects of football. And now sitting at the 5 seed, like we said, it's a crucial game to give yourself a chance to, for Dallas to fumble. You've got to win. But I think the number one thing you've got to do, even if you end up going on the road the entire playoff run, is you've got to dominate and emphasize the run game. You've got to bring it back in. It's got to be the number one point of emphasis this week. The Baltimore Ravens go and run through Miami Dolphins this weekend, obviously in an absolute blowout. Lamar Jackson tallies up 18 for 21, 321 yards, 5 touchdowns. Zay Flowers gets it going once again, 3 receptions, 106 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, Zay Flowers, again, is proving why he was well-deserved pick. He has definitely panned out more than any of the other rookies this year. I mean, he is in my book on the leader, or if not, should be in the discussion for Rookie of the Year. Obviously, Puka Nacua well deserved to be in that discussion, if not winning that award. Sam Laporta, another guy, top 3, Rookie of the Year picks right there, Rookie of the Year candidates, all well deserved from all 3. But I mean, listen, Baltimore has just done it again. They have come out here and just absolutely terrorized their opponent from the start. They got off to a fast start. They physically manhandled Miami, which is obviously a worry for Miami. We've known this going forward. We've understood that Miami likes to beat up on no good teams, on terrible teams. We've known that with their resume. We know they're similar to Dallas in the sense that they play well at home, they play okay on the road, but once you start playing a good team, it doesn't really come through. Yes, they had a win against Dallas. I think it had more to do with that goal line fumble, but again, I still don't think highly of this team. I mean, Tua has been I've been a big advocate that Tua Tagovailoa is not as good as these numbers say he is, right? We all know he benefits a lot from Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill having a historical year, right? But I mean, Tua, 222 yards, 22 for 38, 237 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 INTs, and he was sacked 3 times on the day. I mean, this Baltimore defense smothered him from the start. He really had nowhere to get going. Tyreek Hill, I mean, you did as great of a job against Tyreek Hill as you possibly can. But again, I've been let's not associate some love to Devon Achane for coming back off an injury 2 weeks ago, and he's just been, an instant impact. For the last 2 weeks, he's been, on a carry count, snap count, my fault, but it's on a snap count, so you haven't seen as many plays, but you've seen explosive plays, big chunk plays, which is what he did before he got injured, and which is exactly what he did today. He didn't have the most carries, didn't have the most volume, but he did the most with them. 137 total yards, 1 touchdown, has been playing absolutely phenomenal this year. They really draw up nice plays just to get him involved early out the backfield, little swing routes, out routes, and just allowing these guys to just be fast. I mean, head coach Mike McDaniel has been doing a great job of getting his guys open, allowing his guys to, run with the ball. I mean, we've seen the elite speed on this team from sideline to sideline, everywhere. You have deep threat after deep threat, and you have a guy who can turn a 2-yard catch into a 99-yard touchdown. That's been known, and he's just done a well job of, using the players that he has and using them and to excel and allow Tua Tagovailoa to excel. Again, I do believe once you start pressuring Tua, and you start making him have to look off his first and second read, and once you start making him have to go through progressions is when he starts to struggle. You start looking him, look left to right. He stares at one, it's not there. He stares at two, it's not there. And that's when he starts to become lost. That's when he starts to become a bit frantic, when it's just not there right away. Very similar to Jimmy G's situation in San Francisco when he was with Kyle Shanahan the year they made the Super Bowl. It was just as if the first or second option were not open. They were not there screaming wide open down the field, or, then you didn't know what to do with the ball. That's when you start to panic. Things are going off playbook, right? And now you have to do some little creativity on your own, some little improv. And that's just not simply Tua's game. I think his numbers definitely put him in a category that he's not deserved of. So I do think his stats are a bit inflated. And I know people have been trying to defend him all year with yak yards and things like that. But, I mean, he's definitely not a top 3 QB or a top 5 QB in my book. I think he just, again, is a better version of Jimmy G in the sense that he excels in the system. Mike McDaniels has created a beautiful system around him, and it's just allowed Tua to flourish and to just play great football. But again, on script football, as soon as he has to get off script, that's when you start seeing the struggles. And that's when you start seeing the struggles for this Miami team. If they can't score 40 points a game and have it being a shootout, then they get into a very, very big situation. Obviously, Bradley Chubb was just out for the rest of the season. Just getting Jalen Ramsey back definitely helps for the past 3-4 weeks. He might have been back for a little bit longer, but you guys know what I mean. He was missing the majority early in the year. But again, I mean, the last time Miami played Buffalo, Buffalo ran through these guys. They ran the ball. They went out here and got physical. Back on the Lamar topic, all right? Listen, Lamar Jackson, again, they just do there's such a good job of getting off to a hot start and just controlling the tempo of the game. I mean, Miami was playing a team like Miami who wants to be in these shootouts. They want their offense going. We're having to play from behind, trying to stretch the field, trying to make big plays. And the Baltimore Ravens just would not allow anything up. I mean, this defense has been playing phenomenal all year long. With the additions of Roquan Smith, right, just playing phenomenal football. Patrick Queen, again, playing phenomenal football. You have Marlon Humphreys, and you just have guys who are just playing together as a unit. This is a team that's just playing together well. I mean, everyone's there for each other. It's always good energy. These guys are making plays. And they just know how to work together. And that's what correlates to all these victories and them clinching the 1 seed. Going into the playoffs as the Super Bowl favorite. I mean, they have ran through every team they have been asked to go through. They've dominated all these teams that they were underdogs in. I mean, they were underdogs in some of these games, and they're coming out here and just punishing these teams, letting them know that they are here, they are for real. And then you have Lamar Jackson playing at a level like this. 18 for 21, 321 yards, 5 touchdowns. I mean, it's just phenomenal football. And listen, with the absence of Mark Andrews, we knew someone had to step up. Isaiah Likely's been doing a phenomenal job in that tight end position. Zay Flowers, let's give him his flowers. I mean, he's just been able to create separation, win his one-on-ones, and when the ball gets in his hands, he's just making plays. He was a very reliable receiver against San Francisco, had about 6 or 7 catches, and he's just been Lamar Jackson's favorite receiver at this point. I mean, Odell Beckham's getting old. Obviously, every time he catches a pass, it looks like he comes up hobbling. But, I mean, overall, this team from top to bottom is locked in and ready to go, and they look like a scary team to face. And, obviously, we know Lamar Jackson has his playoff struggles. We know Lamar Jackson has been known to not perform in the playoffs. But I think this is a completely different style of offense than we've seen previously. Previously, we've seen an offense that plays through Lamar Jackson's legs, and now he is using his legs to throw the ball, right? Every time he gets out of the pocket or moves, he throws the ball, okay? So he's not running the ball as much, doesn't have as much rushing yards. He still has a decent amount, and he's not scared to when he does. Because, I mean, you've seen it against San Francisco. As soon as you think, you have all the receivers covered and the secondary's locking down and you don't have a quarterback spy looking after Lamar, boom, he takes off our 32-yard run, right? And he's just such a problem to guard because he's so quick. Obviously, we know that. We've seen what he's done with his feet. And now that he's just dedicated himself to throwing the football at all costs is just great to see. And now that the run of his game has become a second option, it just makes everything else easier and opens everything else up for for Lamar Jackson. And this has got to be a heavy favorite going into the Super Bowl. And I truly think if they win their first game in that divisional round, Lamar Jackson plays semi well, and just everything goes smooth. That's just enough momentum and enough energy to carry it going into the AFC Championship. And obviously, I got my money on Baltimore going forward. The Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills are matching up in a must-win game for the division title. Obviously, Miami has lost a couple weeks, 2 out of their last 3. All right, they're putting themselves in a difficult situation. A lot of teams looking at them as some frauds. But Buffalo has worked their way back into this discussion for the division, and it's going to come down to the wire. They're going to be playing this weekend in Miami at home. Miami, a team who loves to play at home, 7-1 at home. Buffalo 3-4 on the road this year. I mean, everything comes down to this. You've now seen a Buffalo Bills team become less Josh Allen reliant in the past 4 to 5 weeks, right? You've seen a guy like Stephon Diggs go from averaging 80 to 90 yards, receiving yards a game, to now averaging 30 to 40 yards in the last 4 to 5 weeks. And it's great to see in the sense that now you have found ways to win without Josh Allen and his big arm and his crazy playmaking ability. But now you've seen a guy like Stephon Diggs who's been seen as a superstar and who's been force-fed the ball in the past, earlier in the years, in previous years, and it had just never led to success. And now you see an offense that's been so run game reliant, and then just ran through their last 3 to 4 point opponents, right? The Kansas City Chiefs, the Dallas Cowboys. And so now this all gets interesting, right? So now who do I trust the most to have a must-win game? Who do I trust to make the least amount of mistakes? Who do I trust to make the most amount of plays? I mean, listen, do I think it's going to be a shootout? It could be. Could be. It depends how this Buffalo defense comes out and plays. If they let Miami get going early, it's going to be a scary sight. I mean, it's going to be 40-40 at halftime. I mean, both teams have the ability to do that. But I mean, listen, I do think Buffalo is more physical up front, and we've all discussed how Miami, when it comes to these tougher teams, these hard-nosed teams, they struggle. They tend to struggle, right? It's going to be obviously a heavy dose of Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane, and we're going to see how this goes, right? They need their defense to step up. The Miami defense needs to step up and make some plays. Now you have the addition of Jalen Ramsey to help to that defense, and so there's additions to both sides. There's losses on both sides, injuries on both sides. But if I had to choose on one team that is just playing outside of their mind, out of their mind, and have just been hot and playing the right way, the right type of football, it's got to be the Buffalo Bills. I mean, listen, they dominated these guys earlier in the year. They dominated the line of scrimmage. They ran the ball. They were making Tua uncomfortable. They were getting after the quarterback. And I think it's going to be another sample size of that. I think we're going to be seeing a similar game to what just happened against the Baltimore Ravens. I think it can very well get out of hand early. Because like I said, I mean, Josh Allen has just been waiting to break out and do some crazy things, but also now he's proven that he's okay with running the ball for 200 yards if it leads to a win, right? And just doing what he has to do. And I think that's the best thing for Josh Allen. Obviously, we know this Buffalo Bills team has been so Josh Allen reliant. What you get out of Josh Allen is what you're going to get out of the team, what you're going to get as the win-loss ratio, what you're going to get out of the season, what you're going to get in the playoffs. It has been Josh Allen, Josh Allen, Josh Allen. Go make a play, Josh Allen. He is the one person who he is put in a position to be Patrick Mahomes-esque, right? Making these crazy out-of-pocket plays, making these crazy improv plays, and do these remarkable things. So, I mean, again, he's had a lot of pressure on him in his career to be the Superman, the engine to this offense, and it has not worked out in the previous 2 years. Obviously, we've known that with their playoff struggles, okay? But this is the first time where I think Josh Allen is coming in fresh. He's coming in excited, knowing the fact that he hasn't had to let the ball loose the last 3 weeks, and he's still winning games. And at the end of the day, that's all you want, that's all you need, and that's all you can ask for. So I got to take it. Buffalo's going to run this game. I don't think Miami has a chance. And with that win and Miami, if Miami ends up losing, they will drop to the 6th seed, which puts them on the road for the entire playoffs. Again, another situation they don't want to be in. 4-4 on the road. They've been playing no good teams on the road, right? So it will get interesting to see how this all plays out. And now the discussion you've all been waiting for. If you know my channel, if you've listened to my previous podcast, you know I am a Raider fan, so we're going to talk about it. Obviously, the Las Vegas Raiders end the season 7-9, getting eliminated from the playoffs last year with our loss to Indianapolis. We have a lot of decisions to make going forward. Obviously, this one game can play a crucial role in how our offseason goes against Denver. We lose, we just move up a couple spots, and we get a better playoff spot. Draft selection. And then if we win, boom, we're just going right back up, and we're going to continue to climbing ladder to not only another 8-9 season, right? Another mediocre 8-win season, but we will be hurting our draft capital in that sense. I would prefer to just lose the game just because there's no sense in just, moving for draft capital. But at the same time, I understand if we want Antonio Pierce to stay, I'm not sure about y'all, but I think he's done a great job defensively, that he should be stuck around. Whether that's a DC role, because our DC before was just not very good. But since Antonio Pierce has showed up, he has made sure that defense is on point and has been playing, right? I don't need to hype up that defense since AP's taken over. It's been a top 5 defense since AP has taken over, and he's just done a great job. If winning this game against Denver means Antonio Pierce can get his job, officially become the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, I'm praying for that. Let's go win the game. Okay, if that's what you got to do. But obviously, defense is one side of football, one side of winning. You've got to score points. You've got to, do something on offense, which has been something obviously we've struggled with this year, which has been a first time for us really where we struggle scoring any sort of points, where we've struggled to, have any consistent flow on offense and just struggle putting up points, struggle putting up yards, struggle being explosive, making these big plays. I mean, Davante Adams, Hunter Renfrow, right? We just added Michael Mayer and, why am I joking? Jacoby Myers, right? Zamir White is now started to rise as a running back option in the backfield, right? He's been putting on since Josh Jacobs has been out. You have Josh Jacobs, who's just going to become a free agent. So we better sign that man to whatever money he wants, right? Give him a 3-year deal, similar to Jonathan Taylor, similar to the Nick Chubb, similar to the Derrick Henry, all right? Get him a 3-year deal. Make this man happy, right? And just bring him back. We need him. We want him, right? And with Zamir White, I've always, when Zamir White now showing he's capable of running the ball, he's now offered himself more carries a game as a number 2 running back, which I think is what we needed. We never had somebody who was going to go in there and give you production as a running back too when Josh Jacobs needed a breather. Josh Jacobs played a lot of snaps. He constantly is there. We're going to throw him the ball, or he's going to run the ball 20 times a game, right? And with Zamir White now showing he can do that, I think, one, you can get a couple extra carries running the ball, emphasizing the run game, and 2, you now have someone who can just give us some rest. Let Josh Jacobs have a couple snaps, have a drive where he just gets to relax, and just Zamir White do some things. And I'm liking what I'm seeing from Zamir White so far. He showed me the last 3 weeks that he's capable of running the ball, and I couldn't be happier for that. But I mean, we have weapons like Davante Adams, right? Like I was saying before, Jacoby Myers, Hunter Renfrow. We just have natural route runners and guys who are going to get open and make plays. Trey Tucker, who is a great addition from Cincinnati, who I really love. He's been making some plays this year, right? And now we're getting put in a situation where our, I don't know if it's the offensive coordinator or if it's more the quarterback, issues, right? Aiden O'Connell just not getting it done, just not being that guy. Because I've seen when an offense is flowing with Derek Carr last year, right? We were putting up, Derek Carr had nearly 5,000 yards passing on the season, right? Josh Jacobs was the leading rusher in the NFL, right? Like, we had a high-powered offense, and we were able to do that, right? We were able to run the ball and do all these things together. 2 years ago, because last year we were not. Derek Carr didn't go for 5,000 yards, but 2 years ago, Derek Carr did go for 5,000 yards, nearly, right? And Josh Jacobs was the leading rusher in the NFL last year. So let me fix myself before anybody comes from my head, right? But We know the expectations. We know what we got to do. If we want to go compete against Patrick Mahomes, we want to go compete against the Justin Herberts, who I know they've had their struggles this year, but it's still Justin Herbert. We've seen him be able to do remarkable things, right? If we want to be able to compete with that Denver defense and that young Denver team who seems to be one quarterback away from really making some noise, we've got to be able to put up points consistently. And I truly believe if we don't feel like we have that guy, you have that guy, that top dude in the in the room, right? This dude who's gonna just come in here and let everybody be known he is the quarterback one. He is that dude. He's got that swag on his chest, right? Then we keep looking for one, right? I mean, if Aiden O'Connell is simply not that guy, if he is a backup, then he is a backup, right? I mean, I'm tired of being in a situation where we're still trying to plug and place. We held on to Derek Carr for quite too long, right? We tried for whatever Josh McDaniels wanted to bring in Jimmy Garoppolo to go fill that void as a vet, as a guy who's been in the league for a while. You know what I'm saying? And now you have someone like Aiden O'Connell. We gave him a chance. We gave him half the season to go out there and make some plays. There were some stinkers. There was some good things you like to see. But overall, at the end of the day, he is young. Yes, he had a lot of college experience, but he is young to the NFL. And the NFL is a different beast, a different monster, right? But we've also seen strides where his offense has been clicking and going. That first half against Kansas City, the first time we played in Vegas, was just phenomenal. I mean, 17 points in the first quarter, and we're out, you know what I'm saying? Like, we were out there on fire. Aiden O'Connell threw for 200 yards in the first half, and we just looked like we were on point, and then it just went away, some of the play calling is questionable, right? I don't necessarily enjoy it, but also Aiden O'Connell just being young in the fact that he can't take sacks at certain times. He has to just throw the ball away or sometimes force feeding to certain receivers, and he's just not, going through his progressions. And then sometimes when he takes some shots, it just so happens to be a shot in double coverage, which I haven't liked this entire year. Sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't, obviously. But again, if at the end of the day we don't feel like we don't have that guy at quarterback, then just keep looking, right? And right now I feel like we don't have that guy at quarterback, which we can go, you know what I'm saying? We could figure this out, right? And this is when the draft situation comes in hand, because there's only two quarterbacks that I really think are the truth in this upcoming draft. Obviously, undoubtedly, undisputedly, Caleb Williams has got to be number one. I think Jaden Daniels is that second guy. I haven't seen enough of Drake May to make me go, oh my God, this guy's top three. This guy's number 2 overall pick. I have not. People who ooze and ah over him, I'm not seeing it. I'm just not, right? You could say whatever he's want. His best year was probably 2 years ago. And since then, it's just never been the same. I think it's just another one of those guys who they're riding the potential, right? They're riding the it factor he could have, right? Like, he needs to build up into that it factor like we've seen some quarterbacks do in the past, right? And again, Michael Penix, I know he was runner-up for the Heisman, and he did all these remarkable things this year, had a historic season at UW, but yes, he's a great quarterback. Don't get me wrong, right? Don't get me wrong. He is a great quarterback, but does he just look like, like the dude, the dog, the dude that has the swagger on his chest? He is a great quarterback, but I also think his game is elevated from the great players around him, right? And we've seen that a lot in college, right? When your team around you is great, and then you go to the NFL and it's just not the same. You're not playing with, all these remarkable athletes. You're not playing with the best players on the field every week. Someone in that case, Mac Jones. You've seen him go in there and just dominate at Alabama, and then he comes into the league, right? And he just wasn't making that type of success, right? And then Trevor Lawrence, a guy who now he's put it together and he's starting to win games, obviously. Been in the playoffs, won a playoff game. But early in his career, he struggled. He came into the league and he struggled. He wasn't playing with guys from Clemson. He was, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't playing Duke and North Carolina and Wake Forest. Now he got to the NFL. We're playing the big boys. Your team's not going to be as great from the jump. Let's see how you react. Let's see how you adjust. Let's see how you make plays, So all this comes in a decision when you want to find a QB guy, right? Jaden Daniels, he ran that offense. He was the offense in LSU. That dude was remarkable. Yes, they had some weapons around him, but he was the offense. He had a better year than Joe Burrow did the year he won the Heisman, which is just remarkable. That's not being talked about enough. Not anymore, And then number one, obviously Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is Caleb Williams. You don't need to hype him up. You know what he's done. Heisman Trophy winner. unfortunate 7-5 season this year for USC, my team. 8-5 season. Unfortunate, but he still did these remarkable things. If Caleb Williams didn't go for 400 yards and put up 4 touchdowns a game, we would be 0-12 right now. We would be 0-12, right? And so you know how valuable he is. And he elevated his teammates, right? I don't want to hear no talk about any of that stuff. But that's a discussion for another day. Right, let's get back on topic. But, okay, so if I don't feel like I'm getting the 1 or 2 guy, right? Because I've seen a lot of mock drafts say that we're going to get J.J. McCarthy from Michigan, right? And I'm trying to watch film on him. I'm trying to get a feel for him to see, like, yo, do I really like this guy? Do I think he could fit in our system? And I'm not impressed with his throws, some of his throws he's made. You watch who it's against, and it's not nothing flashy. It's not nothing impressive. The one thing I will give him credit for is that he's not scared to run the ball. Right? He is in a Michigan style offense, but he's not scared to use his feet. He'll run the ball. You'll pull. You'll see him run some QB option, which is some read option, which is what you like to see. And then the fact that he just plays in a Michigan style offense, which is what the Raiders are trying to create in Vegas. Right? We want to be a run heavy offense and then play action, which I think falls right in the line with what he's doing in Michigan, a dominant run, a run-heavy team, right? And you've seen him with the game on the line come back against Alabama. Am I convinced? No, I'm not quite convinced yet, right? I don't think J.J. McCarthy is that guy. So if we're going to go out here and go reach for a guy, you know what I'm saying? And if we win this game, we're going to jump up. So I don't even know if we'll be able to get this guy, J.J. McCarthy, So this is when stuff gets interesting, and this is when we've got to figure some stuff out. Because now, QB discussion, right? Who are we going to pick up? Who's on the market? What are we going to do, right? One thing I did here, which I actually kind of liked, was Baker Mayfield, right? He's not going to give you everything. He's not going to give you, a top 10 quarterback performance, but you put him again in a situation where you have a good running back, a solid defense who's coming through. You have a number 1 receiver in the league, right? You have a young, inspiring tight end in Michael Mayer. You have Jacoby Myers who can run routes, Hunter Renfrow who can run routes, right? So you'll have these Trey Tucker, you'll have these weapons, right? And he just brings that energy factor you want from a QB, right? And that's one of the biggest things I like about Baker Mayfield is the fact that he's a leader and his energy is high, right? And he can play some good football. I mean, it's not like it's terrible. You're not going to get Patrick Mahomes from him, right? Like there's definitely a ceiling on the Baker Mayfield route, right? Which you're setting yourself up for a ceiling on the quarterback play. But every once in a while, he can give you a 300-yard game. Do I trust him to win a Super Bowl all by himself? Down 21? No, I don't. Right? But that's again a situational game manager quarterback who we have to win in other ways to help our QB. We have to make our QB's job as easy as possible. That's one of those situations, right? And another one I really liked was, what I've been thinking about all offseason is Kyler Murray. I mean, if Kyler Murray ends up being traded, obviously we know that they have the number 2 overall pick. If they choose not to go with Marvin Harrison Jr. and they choose to go trade that pick down so they can get some draft capital and get a new QB and just do these things and fully rebuild, right? Then, Kyler Murray is a valuable option, right? This was a season last year was going into the season where they were questioning his devotion to the game, and, he said he wanted to play video games more than he wanted to play football, and then he got hurt, and then everything just went downhill. And now you're seeing a situation where now he's starting to use playing solid football, right? But you put him in a situation, if you bring him to Vegas, you have Josh Jacobs, which again, we could look like the Baltimore Ravens 2.0. I mean, having a versatile quarterback like that with Josh Jacobs, with Zamir White, another running back, so you can just boom, right? Let Kyler Murray use his feet, be creative, flashy plays, right? And then you finally put him with a number 1 receiver, right? A route runner in Devontae Adams, right? Which he's never had. When DeAndre Hopkins went over there, it did not just work out well. It did not mesh well. Okay, and then you have Jacoby Myers, Michael Mayers, right? You have a tight end you can trust. You have a receiver, another receiver who can run routes. Hunter Renfrow, a guy who I'm very high of, right? He can run routes. Trey Tucker, a speedster, right? You have these weapons who he hasn't really had in a very long time. And the last time he did with Kyler Murray, they were, with DeAndre Hopkins in Arizona, they started the season 7-0 and ended up losing every single game for the rest of the season. Unfortunate for them, but I'm just saying the ceiling is there, the vision is there, the players there, right? So it's good to see. So obviously there's some things looking forward we've got to watch. But I mean, listen, I know I've been ranting about the Raiders going on for all my Raider fans. I know this stuff goes crazy on TikTok, but it's the last discussion. Last quarterback I'm going to bring up, right, is Justin Fields. I mean, listen, Justin Fields has been playing phenomenal football, right? He's won, 5 out of his last 6 games, right? And they blew 3 or 4, like, 3 possession leads early in the year that could have easily put him in a playoff conversation, right? So Justin Fields has been playing winning football. He's been using his feet. They've been dominating the line of scrimmage, right? With Dante Foreman and Khalil Herbert, right? Which is something we want to do in Vegas. We know that, right? And now you have someone like Zamir White who could run the ball even more. And then you bring in Justin Fields. You put him. Yes, DJ Moore had a crazy year with Justin Fields, but now you put him with Devontae Adams. And then you have, Jacoby Myers. I don't know why I keep blanking on his name. Jacoby Myers, Devontae Adams, Michael Mayer, right? Hunter Renfrow, Trey Tucker. I mean, you put Justin Fields in a better offense, right? And now, not only can you run the ball, but you have 3 or 4 options you could throw the ball to, right? And so then that's when that discussion comes in. Because if they want to move off of him and they want to go and take their number 1 pick and draft Caleb Williams, or they want to go with Jaden Daniels or Drake May, whoever they want to take, go ahead and do that. Because I would be okay with taking a little tender on Justin Fields. He's still got another 2 years on his deal, 1 year on his deal. Either way, whatever we figure out, and if we send him, we're gonna give up. We're not giving up 2 first-round picks. Let me tell you, right? Okay. His value has diminished a little bit. It's probably went up a little bit, so maybe a first-round pick, maybe a second and a third, right? But we would be able to do that, and I think it would be better if we weren't able to get a top 2 quarterback in this draft. Because other than that, I really am not high on J.J. McCarthy, right? And some of these other guys. And I think Justin Fields in Las Vegas would just fit perfectly, would mesh well, right? Run the ball. Have a quarterback who could run the ball and is not scared to run the ball. And then you put him with a elite talent like Devontae Adams. Like, who doesn't want to play? Who doesn't excel playing alongside Devontae Adams? You know what I'm saying? And then you have Jacoby Myers, who can run routes, make plays. Michael Mayer, who I hope gets more involved as the years move on in his career, right? But you have these players, you have a defense who's starting to play well, and now this is when stuff gets very interesting. So Raider fans, let me know what y'all think. Let me know how you're feeling going into Week 18. What are the expectations of this offseason? Who are some quarterbacks you guys would like to see? But with that being said, thank you again for listening to the No Name Podcast. Again, Happy New Year. Merry late Christmas. Hope y'all had a great holiday season, holiday weekend. But let's get back to work. Let's get back to making this bread. Let's get back to making this money. With that being said, appreciate everyone who shows me support. Appreciate everyone who calls me, texts me, and just lets me know how I'm doing and things I should work on and improve on. And for Mr. Eric Washington, I know you're listening. Mike Stan's coming soon. Don't worry, next episode's going to have it. With that being said, I'm out.